Well, hello and welcome. Welcome to Around the Town with Mark. We're always glad to have you tune in and visit with us. Well, we have a full house at the studio today and a very interesting topic to talk about. Basically, we're going to be talking about water, specifically water treatment. What happens after that water goes down the drain and more. So allow me to introduce my guests to you. We've got four today. I think I'll ask each of my guests to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Mark. My name is Bill Rossi. I am a senior operator with Groton Utilities, the water treatment plant.
My name is Paul Hyatt. I've worked, I'm the work leader for the water treatment plant. Been working there for 17 years.
Terrific.
Mike Hedman. I'm a water treatment plant operator and also a mechanic at the plant.
And my name is Rick Stevens, Mark, and I'm a manager. I work with these gentlemen for Groton Utilities in the water division.
Terrific. Well, gentlemen, welcome to Around the Town with Mark. We're very happy to have you as a guest today. I know there's a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it. And would somebody like to just give our viewers an overall general overview of what we're talking about when we talk about the water treatment plant, where it is, and who your customers are?
Sure, I'll take that one, Mark. And
Okay.
First, I'd like to thank you for having us on your show. Really appreciate it. What we do at the water treatment plant is we take the water from the reservoir, we clean it, and we send it out to the public as clean drinking water, also for firefighting. So we consider what we do to be the utmost importance in the city and the surrounding area. Our plant is located at 1268 Pequannock Road, right over next to the airport. And we serve Groton City, Groton Town, obviously. We also serve Groton, Long Point, Mystic, Noank, Ledyard, and Gales Ferry. And we also have a pipe that goes underneath the Thames River that serves Montville and the Mohegan Sun.
So you say you're sort of tap to drain, would that be?
We're more the tap side.
You're the tap side.
Right,
Okay.
so there's two ends of
Yes.
the pipe, and we call ourselves the clean end of the pipe.
Oh, all right. Okay, all right. So maybe I had that wrong in the
That's okay.
introduction.
That's all right. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. I probably should have double checked that
That's
with
okay.
you before we started.
That's all right.
All right. Well, who would like to give us a little bit of history on the plant?
I'll do that.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
The plant was the first phase of the plant was, it began in 1939. If you think about that, it's when The Wizard of Oz first came out. FDR was the president. It was before World War II. And at that time, the plant did 2 million gallons a day of water. And then the plant basically rose with when Pfizer's came. When they upped their production, we actually upped our production. In 1948, we went up to a 6 million gallon a day plant. And then in 1960, we went up to 12 million gallons a day on our plant. And that's our safe yield at 12 million gallons. That's what we did.
And what kind of condition, after all this use and increase in usage, is the plant in these days?
Well, the first phase that was put in Unit 1 that was put in 1939 is now out of service. But the other two additions are still chugging along.
And you're in a process of wanting to upgrade the plant, correct?
That's correct. And I think at this point I might give you a little bit about what the plant does now so we can explain to you the changes that we want to make.
Please do, yes.
And what we have now is we're a conventional filtration plant, and there's 5 steps to that. The first, because you have to think, out in the reservoirs we have all these floating particles. So we pump it up to the plant to our first step. It's called the rapid mix, and we add a coagulant to it, which a coagulant would cause everything to clump together. So the first stage is rapid mix, and then which rapidly introduces our coagulant, which is PAC, polyaluminum chloride, to the water. Then it goes to a slow mix to give everything time to kind of hit together, which leads you into the third stage, which is settling. Everything gets heavy enough, and it goes to the bottom. And then the settled water we then filter, and then once it goes through the filters, we disinfect the water with chlorine, and then we send it out to the public.
That's quite a process.
But after the filters, we also add fluoride for dental health. We add lime to raise the pH of the water, for corrosion control purposes.
Mm-hmm. And all of this is, I guess, under review for upgrades. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's funny, a lot of people don't think about when they turn the water tap on, the water just comes out of the tap, and they don't think much about it. But there's, as Paul just mentioned, that was a a 30-second synopsis of a really in-depth and technical process.
Well,
that
yeah,
goes
I mean,
on.
water is something obviously that's essential to life.
Exactly.
But, you turn on that tap and everyone just assumes that water is going to be coming out and they rely on it and
Exactly.
they don't really think twice about it.
That's right.
Unless it comes out brown or something like that and then they're on the phone calling
Right.
somebody.
Right.
Exactly right.
Right.
That's right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And let's see, I have a question. What is the process of review for this project to make this cost effective? Someone like to address that question?
Want me to do that? So, and that's a really good question, Mark. So what was the process of review from like 2008, when we started the design for this project, until the present? So one of the things that we've done, and I think it's the most important thing, as the operators that are here today are part of the design team. So that produces a strong, reliable component to the project. Having staff that have been operating, probably combined here 100 years, have been operating this plant, to have them have the input into the plant is really important. The other thing we did is we tapped people in universities and people with experience in other water treatment plants to sit in on the design and look at that. And then we put this together as a design team to look at the project. So as it evolved from conceptual design to design, we had involvement of those that operated the plant and those in academic and critical positions for other water companies to look at these plans. Then we started the design, finally, after 4 years of studying everything. And then after we got to 30% design, we stopped what we were doing with the design engineers. We hired another engineering firm that came in and vetted the whole design at 30%. So we had, at one time, I think we had 20
Alright.
individuals in the room looking at the plans. At that time, there were probably 200 sheets to look through. That's blueprints. Then we took all that information and we digested it, and then we moved forward to 60% design. Then we did the whole process again to vet that process. In the meantime, behind the scenes is the State of Connecticut Department of Public Health, and all of their engineers are looking at all the design documents. So there's another umbrella of vetting of the project. Then once we get to that point, we have the vetting at 30%, the vetting at 60%. Then all the design team got together and said, of the ideas and suggestions, which ones have the best value and which ones are the most cost effective. Then we submitted that report to the State Health Department, who again vetted that, and then we moved forward to 90% design. And that's where we are. So the process, the conceptual design process and all the pilot testing, 4 years. And then once the design started,
A lot of work.
Yeah.
another 4 years. And that's where we are right now, with 100% design, shovel-ready project that's been vetted by pretty much at least 100 folks.
Yeah.
But out of those 100 folks, I would say you guys are here because you're probably the VIPs of the water treatment plant. Is that safe to say?
These guys are the VIPs, yeah.
We're very committed to the project and to the plant itself. And I think that by us doing these kind of things and stepping out into the public, maybe out of our comfort zone a little bit, because we're very behind the scenes kind of guys. But for us to step out into the front shows our level of commitment and shows how important we think that people know that this project is not only in the mix, but how important it is that it goes forward.
We probably should have made mention at the beginning of the show, just again, so our viewers know, and I can see from your shirt, you are part of Groton Utilities.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
which is,
Groton Utilities is a company owned by the city of Groton. So we're all city employees, but we work for the Groton Utilities portion of it.
right, which is part of why your coverage is really quite extensive.
Yeah.
Yes,
definitely
Yeah.
what you do.
And you think of public utilities, and some people, we're a luxury in my opinion, because I live in the city, so I'm able to get the utilities, and I find it to be very luxurious, and it's really cheap, and it's quality service.
So the operators, when they leave their shift and go home, and their family said, "What did you do all day?"
Yep.
They open the tap. They say, "Here we go," right?
I made this. That's what it says. I made this cup of water today.
That's a good point. Yeah, and show the kids, show and tell
Right.
right there. Like, hey, this is what
Absolutely.
Daddy does.
And we're proud of it.
That's right.
So, how about someone explaining the importance of all those components and what makes them all so critical? Who would like to take on that question?
Mike, you want to start?
Mike?
Yeah, the plant is made up with a lot of pumps, valves, a lot of different components to make the water flow through it. Many of those components were installed in 1938, some of them even earlier than that, because the plant was built in 38, 39 time frame, the initial water treatment plant. Incidentally, they used to take water right from the reservoir, chlorinate it, and send it out with any filtration. That was
Really?
before the plant was built. And then when the plant was built, the initial filtration plant was only a 2 million gallon a day plant. It was what it was rated at. So a lot of those pipes that are in the plant right now, I was walking around this morning and I seen one pipe that was dated 1933.
Wow.
These pipes are
Really?
Oh, yeah.
they're stamped with the date of manufacture. So you can walk around the plant and see pipes from 1933 to 1997, for instance.
So no wonder this is a very important topic right now.
We've got a lot of old infrastructure in the plant. Some of that infrastructure that we're using right now are in Unit 2, which is our the part of the plant that was built in late 40s, early 50s. We have one component in there that's was manufactured in 1923 that we're still using now.
Is there an industry standard for the age of some of these components? Or in other words, these get so old in this program without being replaced sooner because that's an expected lifespan?
Well, we have, the quality of the product, I think, stands for itself. I mean, how long that plant has been running. It's Keith Hedrick, one of our deputy mayor for the city of Groton. He talks about the Sturgeon-class submarine that he served on. Sturgeon-class submarines were built in 1963 to 1975. They made 37 of them. And those submarines provided the Navy with, a platform to go to sea on. They're all decommissioned now. They're all gone. All 37 of those boats. This plant was built before those 37 class boats came into existence.
And it's still chugging along.
And it's still chugging along. And it chugs along, 24 hours a day, 7
Never
days a
shuts
week,
down.
365 days a year. So it's been going strong ever since then. So it shows the quality that was built into it. A lot of the components, when they get worn out, we do regular maintenance every month, but periodically things wear out and we have to replace them. And part of that replacement process involves tying it in with the computer system that we use to run the plant. And that system is part of the process control. We use supervisory control and data acquisition. It's basically a computer program to run the components in the plant. So after these components are replaced, they're tied in with the SCADA system. And so we have a hodgepodge of different components over the years that have been replaced. And we have a system that ties it together for the control room. So along with the pumps, a lot of the pumps right now that we have, they work on off mode, basically.
Yeah.
You turn them on and you turn them off. We've got 2 pumps that we can pump water out to the water main that are on what we call variable frequency drives, so we can take them from basically 0 up to 100% and control the speed. So that saves a lot of power for the plant. Many of the other pumps that we have are all just on and off, so it's a power consumption thing also.
What then, can we get a little bit more detail as to just exactly what you're proposing to do as far as, you're just replacing pipes, replacing pumps? What is this?
We talked about the
project?
process in the beginning. It's a conventional plant. We want to change the process a little bit, and Paul, maybe you could talk about
Well,
that.
remember how I said that we're still going to be a conventional filtration plant?
Yep.
Okay, but the third part, what I said was settling.
Yep.
Everything gets heavy and falls to the bottom.
Yep.
What we're going to do now is float that to the top using fine bubbles, and it comes off, and you're continuously skimming it off. Because when the stuff goes to the bottom in the settling, which we call sludge, we actually have to go in there, go down these stairs that are about 40 feet down. We're hooked to something, but it's a pretty dangerous job. Then we get down there and we actually get rid of it with fire hoses.
So you're looking not just to upgrade and change equipment, but change procedures and processes as
process,
well.
yes.
Safety.
Yeah.
too.
Safety,
Right,
yeah.
And then from that DAF, we're going to go to different filters, and Bill can explain to you the GAC filters.
Yeah, so the DAF is what's called dissolved air flotation. So like Paul said, it's basically like taking the sedimentation process and turning it upside down. So you get better results. If, for instance, we ever had an algae bloom, that could eradicate it. Something, knock on wood, we don't deal with, but if it ever happened. But then the water is going to go from our DAF plant into our GAC filters, which is granular activated carbon, which we actually have now, but we only have what are called caps. So they're 18-inch caps on top of sand and gravel. And the new plant is going to have full bed GAC. So it's going to be like taking maybe you drive a Corvette, but it has a Camry engine in it, right? But now we're going to have the full Corvette.
all
So
right.
these full bed GACs, they're like the top-notch Cadillacs of filtration.
Absolutely.
So these will catch everything. The number one complaint of customers is taste and odors. This will totally, completely eliminate taste and odors. And not only that, the lifespan of these will be much longer. So as of now, we change our GAC caps every 2 years, which is, I don't know the exact number, Rick, but I know it's fairly expensive to change them out. So this will give us a much longer lifespan with the GAC filters.
I'm sure glad you guys know what you're doing.
It's carbon that he's talking
Right.
about.
Yeah.
And I really like what the bill just did too. So Mike was mentioning the equipment, and Bill related to how the equipment is tied into quality. So
Right.
there's quantity, being able to deliver the water, and there's quality. And I know that our lab water quality manager mentioned that when the plant was actually constructed, there were no water quality regulations. Now we have thousands upon regulations. The technology to look for particles in the water, the light source was a candle when the plant was constructed. Now it's a laser. So the basic foundation of the plant, like Mike described, date stamped, is still aged infrastructure. And that's what we're going after, aged infrastructure, and then like Bill mentioned, water quality improvements.
Right.
Yeah, and you've got, obviously, I mean, you've got the aging equipment, but that aged equipment is now producing and working a lot harder than it probably was designed for when it was new. And so that sort of adds an extra burden on everything, I would think.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the electrical system the plant uses right now is 2,400 volts, which is, hasn't been used for years. And most of the electrical equipment is over 60 years old.
Wow.
So we consider, just the electrical upgrades alone to be very significant.
Well, this sounds like an extremely complicated process that you're going to be going through all of this. Do you have a time frame as to when you're hoping to get started, how long this is going to take? Somebody want to let us know about that?
Well, I'm an optimist.
Okay.
So I will
Always
say,
good. Let's start with the optimism.
I will
Let's stick with that.
say we will be, hopefully, if the residents approve us to go forward, we would be starting in the summertime, and it's a 3 to 4 year project. I look at it as equivalent to if you went to a full college degree. And the funding kind of works like a student loan as well. So we don't start paying back until after we finish the project.
Well, talk a little bit then. You just hit on something about this public process of this. This obviously is something that's going to have to be approved. Now, this goes to the city council first, or
It has gone already.
It's gone to the city council, so now it's going to go up for a vote for.
The
Freeman
vote.
The Freeman
The
vote.
3rd of April.
Okay.
But before that, there's an information session this Monday.
Okay.
What is that, the 13th?
The 13th episode.
Monday, I think it was Monday the 13th, 7 p.m.
Yes.
295 Meridian Street at the City of Groton Municipal
Correct.
Building. If any of our viewers will want to go down there, and they will have an opportunity, obviously, to speak either in favor or against what you're proposing to do.
And we'll actually be giving a presentation, us
Okay.
and about 4 or 5 other people involved in the utilities.
Okay.
Something that we've done before, and we're going to do it again because it's going to be, we're hoping for a larger turnout with more public and more questions.
All right, and
And there will be tours of the plant the 25th and the 1st of April from 9 to 11, if anybody's interested.
All
I think
right.
it's be worthwhile to check out.
Certainly, certainly. And this is all about, obviously, money and funding. Everything has a cost to it. So you're going in front of it, you're looking for funding. How is the funding process done?
So I think the main thing to really communicate is that the funding for the project is repaid through rates. So this is not related to taxes, it's related to the rate structure for Groton Utilities. So we've had to hire rate analysts to review that to see if the rates will be equitable to pay back on the project. The second aspect of funding is that the State of Connecticut Department of Health Service has a funding arrangement called the Revolving Loan Fund. And they have you submit your project and they review it. So out of all the projects submitted for the calendar year 2014, so say there were 100 projects submitted, we were ranked the #1 priority in the state of Connecticut. That gave us a #1 priority ranking. So the funding for the project is a loan payable back at a low interest rate, lower than what we could get as a municipal organization through bonds. And it will be the repayment, which will begin after the end of the project, so 4 years
Right.
from inception, that will be paid for by rates. So everyone who uses the water, like Bill mentioned, you know, if you're sitting in Montville, you know, in the pizza joint, and you're having water there, you're also drinking Groton Utilities water, and every single person that has the advantage of our high quality of water will be paying for that, and it's all determined in the rates.
It's a popular misconception that Rick brings up is that people think that this is going to affect our taxes. And so it's completely independent of taxes. The rate paying and taxes are two different entities. And people will look at, you know, well, the state is having so much problem with their budget and their taxes and stuff like that. But this project is completely independent of that. This is people that drink water and pay for water are going to help pay for the project.
Yeah, well, we know that there's cuts, funding cuts
Yes.
all over the place.
Left and right.
Left
Yeah,
and right.
exactly. Yeah.
So
People's
that-
bills are going to go up an average of only $65 a year, which is what, $5 or $6 a month.
Right.
Just think about how much people pay for cable,
Yeah.
you know, compared to water bills.
Yeah, well, and, you know, it's a good point too. Is, you know, maybe people will start being a little bit more careful.
Yeah.
And you know, there's an awful lot of people that waste water, letting that water just run on full blast while they brush their teeth and then go comb their hair or something like that and let that water go. It's a great deal of waste.
That's a good thing
yeah.
to mention, especially with just, you know, with the 2-year drought we've been in. However, Groton Utilities have been positioned well, so during the drought, we had some of our neighboring utilities coming to us asking us if we could help to supply them water. So we're definitely a regional entity, a very, very strong regional supplier.
And we're like Rick said, we're gifted with our watershed, because if you look, when people look at out west and the problems that they're having with the serious conservation issues out there, we're not even anywhere near that, because we have such an abundance of our reservoir system, and so we're able to take on as many customers as we can. It's great, and people love our water. So.
Now, and you were making mention a little bit ago that in previous hearings, there have been light attendance, I guess you would, and you're looking for
Yeah, so at
more
this
people to turn out.
At this informational session it's on Monday at 7 o'clock at the municipal building. It'd be great if, you know, the place was packed, because and I think also somebody mentioned this, and I thought it was a good point, is that we would like to see some of the detractors too, because we want them to understand what's going on. Some people just look at this and say, well, the city's trying to spend more money and it's just a money grab and everything else. But there's actually a real point to what we're doing. And if people see our presentation and they see our level of dedication and what we're doing here, I think maybe we can change a lot of minds.
So do you think that there's a little bit of political,
Not a little.
I wouldn't call
There
it,
always
yeah,
is.
but I
Oh,
wouldn't.
not a little,
Yeah,
okay.
I wouldn't call it
So-
necessarily politically oriented. I think that to give the consumers the benefit of the doubt, I believe that people are concerned today about their quality of water, and also about the cost of the water. And I think, like Paul mentioned, like we've all really mentioned here, we feel that through all the vetting process that we've done the best job we could do, So there's a value, you know, a described value, and we feel we have the lowest cost to do that.
Well,
Absolutely.
like we've mentioned during the show, as I've said, that water is something that so many people take for granted. If it's there, they turn on that faucet, they don't think the work that goes into getting that coming through, making it clean, making it taste good.
Right.
And they just want the water, but they maybe don't want to have to deal with worrying about understanding
Right.
Right.
the process of what's going on in that building and what needs to be done. So I would think the more you can get out there is good. Now, as we're winding down, I know you have some community and school programs and tours that you give.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would want us to promote for education?
Sure, definitely. Yeah, Paul touched on it already, but we're the last Saturday of the month, so the March
Yep.
25th from 9 to 11, we're going to be holding tours of the plant. And also the next weekend, which will be April 1st, we're going to have it the same thing. And we really encourage people to get out and come see the plant because we want people to see where their water comes from. We're open to tours anytime. I mean, you can call ahead and you can schedule a tour, and we're always there. We're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so we can always accommodate tours. But we're going to try to get the public en masse here if we can on those days. And then also we mentioned the informational session in the Freeman's meeting, which is going to be April 3rd. So these are the next couple of weeks here. There's going to be kind of a lot going on with the plant.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. And very, very, very important stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Any closing comments as we're winding down from anybody? There's anything that we haven't talked about that we should talk about?
Well, I think the plant is we're going to have, it's going to comply with future regulations as well, because you never know what's coming down the pike. There's always stuff coming, and this plant would give us another added barrier for that, which I think is important.
Terrific. Terrific. Any other closing comments from anyone as we're winding up?
We just want to thank you again for having us on your
Yeah,
show.
definitely.
And
Definitely.
letting us,
Thank you, Mark.
Letting us talk about this thing that we all think is so vital and important. to
Sure.
us.
Well, you know, it is vital and important, and you know, as we've continued to say all through the show, water is a very basic, but it's a very critical need. Everybody needs it and wants it. Whether you're brushing your teeth or washing your car or your dishes, everybody wants that water.
And they don't make any new water.
That's right.
Yeah.
What we have in this planet is what we have.
That's right. That's a good point.
And are you
yeah.
guys the same guys that, you know, in the springtime we see the flushing of the water mains and things with
Yes.
all that
Yes.
that dirty water coming out?
That's the
Right.
water you drink, by the
And
way.
right after I've washed my car and I go down to the grocery store, I have to walk through that or drive through that, right? Well, thanks a lot. No, really, gentlemen, I
Yes.
want to thank you all for being on Around the Town with Mark today and talking about the water treatment plant. It's a very, very important issue. And thank you for all you do for us for clean water.
You're
And
welcome.
we appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I want to thank my viewers for tuning in today to Around the Town with Mark. Make sure, perhaps if you've got time, Monday on the 13th, go to that information session at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building. It's a very, very important issue for all of us, for you, for your kids, your family, clean water. Everybody needs it. Everybody wants it. So you got to support these things. And we're going to have another great show. We've got a history series coming up later in the month for you. So we want to make sure that you tune in again to Around the Town with Mark. Thank you for tuning in today, and we'll see you again real soon.